You have to make sure that they start watching your video. Now, once they do start watching your video, you have to make sure to give them something really fast within the first 5 to 10 seconds. That's the hook.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Business Briefs, where we're giving you bite-sized legal and business tips right in this special 30-minute segment, if not a little bit less. But today we have an extremely talented Dmitri Smirnov with us, who will actually kind of unveil the world and the mysteries of Google Ads. I'm really excited to have him because this is something that I've been struggling with lately. And I know there's tons of questions that other people have out there. There's lots of information. I think some of it might just be false information as well. And so I'm really looking forward to having Dmitri today and having these intense conversations about Google Ads. Dmitri, welcome to Business Briefs.
Thank you, Girja. Looking forward to talking Google Ads.
Yes, to tell us, how did you start this business? Like, tell me in like 60 seconds, or what's your elevator pitch?
Well, I started the business really, I just fell into it after studying math and economics in college. Instead of working for a Wall Street bank or something, or actuary company like a lot of my classmates did, I decided to work for basically minimum wage as a customer support agent at a local internet startup business. And quickly there, I learned the ropes of marketing too, Facebook ads, Google ads, realized is perfect for my personality and also not waking up early, which I'm a fan of staying up late. I'm a night owl. So marketing, direct response, Google ads was just exactly what I was looking for. And here we are now, over 10 years later, still doing Google ads, and it's evolved quite a bit. YouTube has come along and been a big player as part of Google ads. And we can talk about YouTube too. So that's how we got here.
Wow. I mean, I feel like, I'm always like, I ask my guests, what was the gap that you saw? I'm like, this is a pretty clear gap. Not a lot of people know how to do digital marketing in the best way available. Like, I've gone on to Instagram and done Instagram ads on my own. And I've always been like, this was an absolute waste of my time and money. And so if we just start off there, how do we know which avenue to take when we are doing digital marketing? Like, where do we go first?
Well, first of all, digital marketing is a field like every other field, for example, like law. You could figure out law on your own and you could do some Googling around, and maybe you could even be successful in a small question. Okay. But normally you do need to hire an attorney in that specific field because they are experts in their field and they're going to be able to get a better result for you. It's still important to go and try to learn some of that information on your own to make sure that you're on the right track. And so with Google Ads, it's the same way. And advertising in general, especially online advertising, you kind of want to know where to start. And like you mentioned, starting on your own, you don't know what to do. It might be a waste of time and money, but I will say that is a great way to learn. So as long as you're not spending big budgets, it at least is introducing you to KPIs, key performance indicators, such as what's my view rate, what's my click-through rate, cost per click, cost per conversion, how many impressions am I getting? And all these terms that are important in the industry, you start to get familiar with them. So that's a good way to start, is just by learning. Now you can also, there's great resources on for free on youtube.com to get you started. And it's important to really do this on your own first.
So if you are doing it on your own, which I think is so cool that you're saying that, because a lot of times people are like, no, don't do it on your own, just hire an expert. But so I'm going to do this on my own first. Walk me through it. Where do I go first? I know you said YouTube, go there, get some information and get like, the 101s on that. But after that, if I wanted to do Google ads on my own, or like pick a, space that would be good for my company, how do I do that?
Yeah, first of all, I want to stress the importance of doing it on your own, because picture accounting or financing, your personal finances. If you don't know anything that's going on in your personal finances and you're exporting that work to your CPA or your trusted advisor, first of all, we hear about stories all the time about advisors stealing money.
Mhm.
But second of all, it's a black box, it's a mystery. You can't use your own creativity and put in your own input into your own life. This is your own life. So that's why I think you should start by trying it on your own. And secondly, even though I run a Google Ads agency at Big Life Marketing, and I don't necessarily think that's the first place to start for marketing. There's so many avenues out there. And the first distinction is paid versus organic. Paying for ads is expensive. So you have to have a proven offer that you know works. If you're just starting out, I would never recommend starting with paid ads.
Mm-hmm.
First, start posting on your organic channels on Instagram and Facebook and whatever social media platforms you have. Post videos on YouTube ads and direct people to your offer on your landing page or your website and see if anyone buys it. You
Yeah.
can even call up your friends or your associates, or you can pass out flyers on the street. Just try to sell whatever it is that you have to offer. If the market accepts it and people actually do buy it, then maybe it's time to move into paid ads, but not until then. If you are ready to move, if you do have an offer, let's say you're an attorney, you have an offer that works, people buy your services, it already happens, then you can go straight into paid ads, especially in this field, because people are looking for those services through Google search. But you can also introduce yourself, introduce your product, and tell the audience what's different about you and your business through a YouTube ad.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. So I love that because it actually makes sense, and I think sometimes the struggle just might be initially in the organic space. And I think a little bit what I was telling you earlier is that say the exposure is there, but it's not as big as you want it to be in the organic way. But now you're wanting to go into ads, whether it's Google or some other form of ads. How do you do that? Because I don't know if there's different schools of thoughts or there's like well, you should have this before you step into the arena of Google ads. So for example, someone more recently than not said to me, hey, listen, you don't really have enough traffic on your website to really get into the Google ad world. So what would you say to something like that? Even though I have products that people buy, I have stuff that's proven to be likable. And so,
I think it's most important to have an offer that works. Now, the next step is to have an offer that works on a website. So that's why that person might say you don't have enough traffic to have proven this with online traffic. But now here comes the distinction and the fork in the road as to what you do. One way you can do more organic traffic, try to get people coming in through Instagram or whatever and putting out more content that way, that's a cheaper option that's going to take a lot more time. Or the other path is starting with paid ads, which is going to be more expensive because every click costs
right.
from $1 to up to hundreds of dollars, depending on the industry. And then for some keywords in the law field, they can go for hundreds of dollars for just one click. But so the point is, it's going to be more expensive, but it will be a lot faster. You will get quick results, and that's why we call it direct response. And by the way, it's that expensive per click because of how valuable those customers could be for the firm or for whatever business it works. So there's a lot of competition for those keywords. But Google search is not the only option. There's also display, Google display, which are images on websites, like the image ads, and there are YouTube ads as well. Just one other thing about starting and deciding when to start, it's really a matter of knowing your numbers, your business numbers in advance, meaning how much is each new customer worth to you? If you don't know that number, that KPI, then you shouldn't start advertising because you don't know how much you can spend to break even. And that's the first goal in all new advertising campaigns is breaking even.
Right. I like that a lot because sometimes, we might go with our gut and we're not really looking at the numbers, but the numbers are very important at the end of the day, knowing when to break even, knowing actually when you might be at a loss, even with the ads, or you might be coming out. The conversion is amazing and the ads are proving to be something where you're actually getting profit conversion. So just kind of rewinding a little bit back to organic, the algorithms are constantly changing depending on the platform you're on. How do you keep up with that? And I know it's a really broad question, a heavy question, because there's a lot of different platforms out there, and some change, a lot of different algorithms and things like that. But in general, is there something that you do in order to make sure that you're updated with all the algorithms that are changing, or some technique that you might be using to keep up with it?
The best thing about ads is that the algorithm doesn't change as often as organic
Mhm.
does. So fortunately, we don't have to keep up with those algorithmic changes as much. Now, the Google Ads does come out with new campaign types, such as Performance Max. Now it's coming out with something called Demand Gen, and there's things to learn as well. And there's new best practices that come along for existing ad types, but it's just less. But I will say for organic, there is something that can put you ahead of 99% of other businesses easily. And that's just by posting consistently. Almost nobody posts consistently. They'll do it for a couple days, even a couple weeks. They'll give up because they're not getting the reach that they expected to do. And the platforms know this. So they're not going to give you lots of impressions. They're not going to share your content until you've at least posted consistently for 90 days, typically. And sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year, but that way the platform knows they can rely on you. So if they're going to use their resources to promote your content for free, they want to be confident that you're going to continue to keep posting content. Otherwise, it'd be wasted effort on their part. So by actually posting and sticking with it, you can get ahead of 99% of other businesses, and you don't need to worry about what is the algorithm doing, what's changing. It doesn't matter.
That's a great insight, actually. I never thought of it that way. I mean, everyone's always like, oh, post consistently, do this, do that. But the reasoning behind it, I feel like you really broke that down really well. And that's so true. And it makes sense also for them to be able to depend on you, for them to reuse your stuff and, vouch for you. And that's great. But I still feel like, with that being said, in general, the algorithms, like right now, people are like, oh my gosh, we used to have so many views and now they're like 10% of what they used to have, or like 20% of what they used to have. And this is Instagram. Like, I'm not talking about LinkedIn. I feel like LinkedIn is actually great. Their algorithms are really good, and that's a great spot if your audience is sitting in LinkedIn. But it's really tough. Now, going to Google Ads though, what are some of the myths that you're constantly hearing about Google Ads?
There are definitely myths, and I will note one other thing about the views changing is that's not really an effective metric to measure. What you really should be measuring is how many people are getting to your website, how many are taking your lead magnet, and it's something that you're offering, and how many people are actually signing up as customers. That's
Mhm.
really what matters. Views could vary, and you could get views in a country that you can't provide services. And what do those views mean to you other than a vanity metric? Probably not much. So
Mm,
it's really making sure that you're pinpointing, maybe they're getting 10 times fewer views, but they're getting 10 times more qualified views, in which case it's much better for them. So there's a lot of variables in that equation.
great point.
Um, yeah, going
That
to
is a great point. Yes.
yeah, and really, what do ultimately we care about increasing our business's revenue and ultimately the bottom line.
Mhm.
So reverse engineer, what does it take to get a customer? And we should be putting out content that actually gets customers, not gets views. We
Right.
don't care about.
Okay, I'm to piggyback that. I know I asked you another question. We'll come back to that question really quickly. But to piggyback on that, say you're there, you're on Instagram, or you're on YouTube, but you're not getting that click, you're not getting that person to your website. So then is it just a simple, okay, we got to try another method, another platform? And then what's your take on that?
This is what you need to do is pick one platform that you feel most comfortable with and research that platform, meaning whenever you see content that you like, grabs your attention,
Mhm.
make a note of it and make content just like that. Whenever you are tempted, when you realize that you just clicked on something, like, why did I click on that? Rewind the video. Maybe it's on YouTube. What did they just say something that inspired me to click? Maybe they just told you, please click on the link below, which is Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go click on the link. That works. As simple as that. And people say it all the time, but it actually works. And you see in advertisements that good ads ask for a click. They ask the user to take action. So pick one platform, make notes as you're consuming on that platform. And when you start to create, start modeling that. If you're not getting enough clicks, that means you're not asking for the click properly, or you're not giving enough value to earn the click. And organic and paid ads are set up actually very similarly. And they consist of three parts. Part one is the hook. You have to hook the viewer in. And if it's depending on the platform, but let's just say for YouTube, there's two hooks. Number one is the thumbnail.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure that they start watching your video. Now, once they do start watching your video, you have to make sure to give them something really fast within the first 5 to 10 seconds. That's the hook. And then you have to provide value, something that the watcher actually gets from your video and feels like they didn't waste their time. Because if they feel like they wasted your time, that's worse than if they never saw your video in the first place.
Right.
So don't just make content to make content, actually provide something valuable in there. And the final piece of it is to get action, call to action, whether it's call this phone number, click this link. On YouTube, a lot of times the call to action is play this next video. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the three parts. And if you include the thumbnail in the headline, it's four parts to make a really, really good piece of content that can actually get you clicks, actually get you conversions on your website, and more money for your business.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, you're like literally just pouring out great tips because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about the stuff that I've been seeing and consuming. And then lately, this whole thing has come up where they're like, go back to the captions. You're just like, wait a second, what happened to the whole only in the video situation? Like things keep changing. But yeah, the thumbnail with YouTube and everything is like super important. And so super great tips. Now, moving forward to my other question that I had about Google and the myths that are, connected to Google. So what are some of them that you can debunk today for us? You're like, nope, that's just not true.
I think the first myth is that you can't do it yourself.
Yes.
It's totally possible to do it yourself because Google Ads platform makes it easy. It has tutorials within the platform to walk you through it. Then there's free content on YouTube that has amazing, amazing step-by-step tutorials of what to do. And depending on your industry too, it's industry specific. So in law, for example, search ads, local ads are very popular. You can also look into this is separate but together with Google Ads is Google My Business and how to promote yourself on the local map and things like that. It's very possible to do Google Ads yourself, and you really should do it. It's not like you have to work with an agency because only they have access to Google Ads. Everybody has access to Google Ads, every single person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's myth number one. Another myth is that you have to have professional ad knowledge or experience or video editing skills or recording skill, professional equipment for recording videos. You don't need that. You really just you just create whatever you can. You
Mm-hmm.
can record YouTube video ads with your phone. And in fact, we found that that works better than professionally done videos.
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time. Seriously, almost always that just works so much better. And anyway, this is a professional tool at this point, the iPhone. Especially when you're working with a local audience, it's not about creating an ad that looks like it should go on TV or be in the Super Bowl commercial. It's just having a conversation like this one,
Right.
but you're talking to your audience and you're talking to one specific person. You think about who is your perfect customer, what's their age and their demographics, and where do they live. Talk to that one person in your video ads. It's personal, it's authentic, it's not made up with a studio. And so people like that, especially on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I mean, I have obviously I have a YouTube channel. And so it's nice to have those like be yourself. And, I have a YouTube podcast manager also. And so there's a lot of information that's constantly coming out, like, oh, do it this way, do it that way. And so there's tons of like consumption of content all the time. And so if I today were going to say, okay, Dmitri, I need to do Google Ads. And yes, okay, I'm going to start on my own. And here I've done it now for 3 months on myself by myself. It's kind of nice, but I kind of really want your services now. So where do I need to be in life in order to get Dmitri to do my like Google Ads?
That's a funny way
Not,
of putting it.
but yeah, I know. And what I mean is not like financially. I'm sure, like, obviously there's money associated to it. But is there a point that I need to be in my own business or with my website where you're like, yes, this is the path that we're going to take? Are there different paths to take when we are doing Google Ads
Yes.
also?
First of all, with ads, it's an investment and it's a risk, meaning that you can lose your entire budget that you spend without getting a single customer. It's possible. I would say it's rare, especially if you're working with a quality agency or if you're working with us, it's very rare, but it is possible. On the upside, though, you can really change your business. You could double your business with ads. You can 10x your business with ads. It's been done before. It's possible. And you don't have to do it overnight, obviously. Over the course of a few years, you could really grow it, and you have a new consistent lead source in Google Ads. So making that decision is you're coming from a place where, okay, I can risk $5,000 a month in ad spend and I'm prepared to lose it for the next 3 to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I'm risking it for potentially creating that new lead source that's bringing in actually qualified customers who do end up becoming paying customers, and the return on ad spend could be as high as well, it could be unlimited, really. It depends on the scales. But a lot of times, return on ad spend could be 3x or 5x or 8x. So if those returns are something that you're wanting and
Mm-hmm.
it's worth the risk, and you can give some budget to your agency and give them some time to work it out for your specific offer in your specific area, that's the time to go and experiment. And by the way, I'll tell you this, if the worst type of clients to work with, and I'm speaking for all agencies, are ones who aren't willing or can't lose that initial budget, the ad spend, because every little change in Google Ads requires some time to see if it works. Did
Mm-hmm.
it work? We need a week, especially at low volume. Sometimes we need a month. So if you're not quite at that point in life,
Right.
then an agency is not the right way to go. It's better to do it yourself because you don't have to pay the agency fee and you can limit the budget and keep experimenting that way.
Okay. And generally, how long should we be doing one type of ad in order to see impact or any type of conversion, even?
Well, on Google Ads, the way to do it is at least 100 clicks before you turn it off. And if you're using Google search, so we'll talk about just search, you have to make sure that you're getting the right search terms.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sending traffic from people who are searching something that's irrelevant, that obviously is not going to work on your landing page. Here are some benchmarks that you can count on. Is about a 5% CTR click-through rate on your ad on Google search. So 5% of the impressions that you get, 5% of them will click on your ad. Of the ones that click on your ad, you should work to get at least 10% to convert on your website. And typically what that means is filling out their name, email, phone number, and maybe some other information. Now, one thing that we've seen work a lot is longer forms on that landing page. So you're asking them, I mean, depending on the business, of course, but maybe in case of a law firm, you have to ask them what field is their question or their inquiry about, and when did the thing happen, or four or five or eight sometimes questions, and that helps reduce spam, by the way. The more forms you make there, and there is spam all over the internet, we know
Right.
that. But 10% is kind of the minimum you want to convert on your website. And then once you have their contact information, it's really up to you. If you're calling them within 3 to 5 minutes, they're so much more likely to become your customer rather than if you call them the next day.
Right.
It's night and day. So once it's in your CRM, and you should always be using a CRM, customer relationship management tool, then you just have to act quickly with them. And you start this whole process slow. And am I getting a 5% CTR? Are the terms relevant? Once that's a check mark, yes, now you can start worrying about the landing page. Am I getting 10% of my clicks to become leads? Yes. Great. I'm looking at my CRM. Are they actual real leads? Are they qualified? Great. Now we're increasing budgets. And now more traffic is coming through, making sure the metrics are still holding strong. And then we keep increasing budget, maybe adding new search terms. That's how it goes. It's just try something, see if it works, adjust, increase budget, adjust, and so forth.
Okay. It's interesting because generally, like sometimes you'll hear someone say, "Oh, at least 3 months you need to give it," but you're like, "No, it's 100 clicks," and then you can see then, and within the 100 clicks, you look at these benchmarks. Also, is that what you're saying? Also, like look at this benchmark during those 100 clicks.
Yes, yes. And 3 months is so broad. What does that even mean in 3 months? I mean, you could do hundreds of hours of work in 3 months. You could spend tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in 3 months, or you could do 100 clicks a month for 3 months, which will cost you a few $100 depending on the industry. And so, what does 3 months really mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm talking about it more granularly, where there's something that you can start using these metrics, 100 clicks, 10%, and so on, 5% CTR, that you can actually right away within days or even hours in many cases start to see what is working and what's not. And isn't everything in life is like that, right? I mean, it's we're always trying something and seeing if it works. And if it does, we do more of it. And if it doesn't work, we think of new ideas. Marketing is exactly like that.
Yeah. And it's really nice that I feel like when I'm talking to you, you're just breaking it down so easily and digestibly, where it's not just like all over the place. And like it's making sense to me. So it's really nice because I think like even if I were to start on my own, this is like this is a great starting point also for myself that okay, these are great benchmarks to look at. This is actual tangible metrics and it's not just something up in the air. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And just quickly for the listeners, when you say impressions, what does that mean?
An impression is when somebody sees an ad. Anytime you're scrolling on your Facebook feed and an ad pops up, that's called an impression. Whether you click on it or not, you saw it, it was in your feed. Even if you didn't consciously see it, you scrolled right past it, that would be an impression. On Google search, for example, if you searched law firm in my area and an ad popped up, that's called an impression, whether you click on it or not.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, I love that. And now, so I have like a couple questions that are popping in, and I don't want to forget any of them. But so when you're talking about search terms and keywords, how does that play into the whole equation of Google Ads?
It's so nice to have these tools at our fingertips because it's just I can't even stress how effective it is. And you can picture. I'll kind of run through a scenario. First of all, you're deciding you know who your target audience is. You can look back at your entire customer list and see, okay, out of all these customers, who are my best customers? And you start making a list of that. Now, what's common among all these best customers? Let's say they were all over 50, they were mostly women, they were lived in a big city, and they had this income. Let's say top 10% in income. That's your best customer. How do we get more of them? Now we get in the head of people like that one best customer. You can even create an avatar for them. You can even draw them. And now this person exists that you're speaking to. You have a one-on-one conversation with. So you have this perfect avatar, and now they're searching for something. What is that person going to be searching for? It's not going to be the same for all people. That's why I'm saying you have to get your ICP, your ideal customer profile down first. And now you can figure out exactly what they're searching for, and you can target your ads specifically to just that keyword. So only showing your ads to people who are showing exactly what they're needing right now.
And that's all doable on Google Ads. Like you can get that granular and that particular.
Oh yeah. That's for Google search in particular, that is exactly how the targeting works. Now, if you're going to go and use YouTube ads, it's a little bit more broad. And in those ads, the key is to call out your target audience through your ad copy. And you'll see this even on TV commercials or on most YouTube ads nowadays. Let's say, well, one thing that's popular in my field is there's companies that help agencies do something, get more customers or whatever. And they'll say, "Are you an agency owner who needs XYZ?" And like, "Yes, that's me. I raise my hand. I'm going to continue watching." Everyone else will skip. So we're only talking to the people we want to talk to. And same thing with whatever business that you run. You want to talk to only the people who can buy from you. And same thing, by the way, for organic content. Only talking to the people who have a chance of buying from you and that you want to buy from you.
And so that's like, are you XYZ? Is that like just an audio thing, or is that also written in your YouTube description or like thumbnail, or is that just like a
Well, if for a YouTube ad, it's said out loud as part of the audio part of it. Now, to go to the next level with YouTube ads is you put the scenery in a related place. For example, if you're a real estate agent and you want to get more listings, one thing that you could do is not just record yourself at your house, but you could go outside and maybe stand next to a for sale sign or knock on a door in the house or something that real estate agents can relate to. And that way, both your visual and your audio are speaking to your target audience.
Okay. Okay. Great tips as usual. You are full of amazing tips right now. I love it. This has been great. I personally learned a lot just sitting here having this conversation with you. And I'm going to ask one more question about Google stuff. And then after that, I'm going to have just a couple more questions. And then, my question that I have is that, say like, eventually, okay, I'm going to, like, one of the listeners or even myself, I'm going to eventually go and hire someone like you or, Dmitri yourself also to do my Google ads. But in the meantime, let me just start by myself. Okay, I've done the YouTube video. What are some other tips that you can give, like helpful tricks of the trade where it's like, okay, we're not definitely going to be falling into 10 different traps along the way. And just something like, here's some red flags for you before you get into that space.
Well, I think the best tip I can give is to start slow and scale big. And that's going back to making sure you're hitting those benchmarks early, meaning you could be spending $5 a day just to see how things are playing out, making sure your view rate is fine, making sure your CTRs are fine. By the way, on YouTube, a CTR of 1% is the target, not 5% like it is in search. So it depends on the campaign type. And Facebook ads is different. And by the way, I recommend trying Facebook ads for most customers as well. Facebook is still a great advertising source too. It's not just Google. You want to have both ideally. Now, don't typically, I mean, depends. If you have time to try both, you can. But usually just pick one. Facebook may be easier for some people because they're used to using it themselves. They understand how the ads look, how the ads work in their feeds because they see it all the time. But that's the thing, is just start slow and see, am I getting any conversions? And if you're not getting conversions, then you have to change something before you keep going. Don't just keep running ads. Figure out what's happening. Maybe it's that your search terms are wrong. And there's actually different types of match types for keywords. And Google, there's a thing called broad match, which Google will start showing your ads to terms that are broadly related to the one that you selected, that could be dangerous. So instead, just use exact match. So it's only going to show up for the exact thing that you said to do. Now, making sure the search terms are good. Now, check on your website. Is it working properly? Is it loading? Is there something? Ask a friend or a few friends or some coworkers to try the website out and give you feedback. Where were they confused? Where were they stuck? You could use a tool like Hotjar, which records the website screens of your prospects and see where do they get lost. You could put a feedback chat thing on your website where you can say, like, what was confusing about my website. You'd be surprised how many people actually reply to that.
Hmm.
And so you start gathering more and more information until finally you get a conversion. You get the conversion and you find out, where did this click come from? At what time of the day and to what keyword and to which ad. And now all of a sudden you see this path of what worked. Oh, and that it could be surprising. I didn't expect this keyword in this ad to work, but now it does. Let's add a little bit more budget to it and just grow it that way.
Okay. That's great. Like I didn't even think about the chatbot, like the chat box that you could say, "Hey, what's so confusing about this?" That's great feedback actually from people who are coming through who are
Yeah.
not the experts in your field and you're trying to sell them stuff because they're like, "Well, we don't even know what you're selling." And that's actually a very common issue. People don't know what you're selling. And so that's great advice. Deji, this has been great. I feel like you've shared so much knowledge with us today. And I'm really grateful for all of this information. So just some fun questions though. Are there any books or any podcasts that you're listening to lately?
Well, in terms of advertising books, there are a few classics which I highly recommend, such as Ogilvy on Advertising, Scientific Advertising, and there's a few, like if you start looking at those books, you'll get a few recommendations. Those are all written, I think, over 50 years ago. And the
Mhm.
principles of the advertising are what matters. On a more contemporary basis, there's a couple books by Alex Hermosi, which is a big figure now in advertising, who's just amazing. So anything written by him is highly recommended. And then in terms of podcast, there's Perpetual Traffic podcast, which is really great for marketing. And again, like just look at people also listen to and
Right.
start trying seeing what you like. It really depends on the host. Do you connect with them or not? And by the way, that's exactly how buying is, right? For all businesses, is there are some percentage of your customers who would have bought from you no matter what, regardless of your personality. But in today's world, we kind of get that there's a lot of options for the same service. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of, do we like the person that we're buying from?
Yeah.
And that's why content is important and podcasting is important. And we consume content from people that we like.
Yeah. So true. I mean, relatability is definitely a thing. And now with videos and just having that access to your customers so directly is so powerful also. So
Yes.
great point. Great point. Okay. And my final question for you is, what is your anchor? What holds you steady when the world is chaotic around you?
Well, I I do enjoy my work in general. So I don't, like I was saying at the beginning, it perfectly fits my personality. So sometimes, believe it or not, I actually go and do more work to relax, which is it really is a great thing to have in life. And I'm grateful to have that. But aside from that, like for example, growing tomatoes. It's not a cost-effective way to get tomatoes. I'll tell you that for sure. I think I've spent hundreds of dollars on my tomato plant, and who knows how many hours this year alone, and I've yet to get any fruit from it, but I enjoy it. So those are the little things, the little things in life, and in this chaotic world, like you mentioned, it is certainly chaotic, but but also being just extremely grateful for all the things that we do have. And I'll end it with this: is that a kind of a thought experiment is, would you, and whoever this is, whoever's listening, would you trade the life that you have with royalty from 200 years ago? I'm not even mentioning from thousands of years ago, or even 100 years ago. Even 100 years ago, would you trade with them? And I think the answer for most people, almost everybody, is probably not, because we have life so much better. So,
Yeah, so
I
much
mean, especially
technology, so much advancement and innovation. Like it's incredible within even the last 20 years. There's been so much.
yeah, technology, medicine, connecting with people from all over the world. So the opportunities nowadays, they're amazing.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And how does someone connect with you? How can they listen to you more or follow you or just say, hey, I want your services?
Well, the best way is to go to biglifemarketing.com, and you can get a free assessment done by our team. So you'll fill out the form and tell us about your business. Assuming that you're qualified to work with us, we're going to go into your account and we're going to do a full audit of not just your Google Ads account, but all of the marketing that you're doing. We'll
Mhm.
see if it's a good fit for you to work to even start with paid ads if you're not doing them yet. Hopefully you are already doing paid ads and you're already successful with them and you're just looking to take it to scale it, to
Mhm.
scale it. And that's what we're best at, especially if you have an offer that's already working on Facebook ads, for example, and you're ready to add Google and YouTube ads as another consistent traffic source and oftentimes make it your number one traffic source, then definitely come to us. So we do that audit for you and we talk about what what we can do and what we think will happen. And then you can decide whether or not to work with us or not. And that's at biglifemarketing.com. And if you want to connect with me, I'm on Twitter a lot. It's my favorite social media platform. You can DM me there. And if you want to hear from me some more, I just type in my name into podcasts channels, and I don't know, I'll probably be on somewhere else somewhere too. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you have a lot of gems that you're sharing with everybody on this podcast. So this was super helpful. I really appreciate your time and also being a guest on Business Brief. So thank you so much.
Well, I enjoyed it. I thank you for those questions. You made me laugh on several of them and made me think too. So thank you for that. I enjoyed it being here. Thank you for having me.